Hey, welcome back to my channel. This is Jason, also known as Ominous Prime. And today I wanted to talk with you about what's going to be coming up this week. Typically, in a normal year in the past, before the pandemic hit us, we would have E3 happening either like this week or the following week. It's kind of like our Super Bowl where we get all of the things that we want to have as a gaming community kind of laid out so we know what we're going to be able to purchase and have access to. All right, so we've already had Sony's State of Play. It was about a 30-minute showcase of what they had coming down the pike. However, I believe that Sony will have another one later this month to where they can go ahead and showcase some other games that they have in the works. I'm hoping that's the case here, and it's going to sound like I was underwhelmed, but just to kind of go over what they had shown, okay, and I'll let you know why there's some disappointment with me. What they showed was heavily, it might as well have been a Capcom showcase of games, and I love Capcom, but it was, they started off the show with a Resident Evil game, which I believe it was Resident Evil 4 being remade. Then there was Resident Evil 8, where there was an update to that. There were some other titles that were showcased, for instance, like Street Fighter 6. It wasn't announced as exclusive, which, I'm happy for. It means more people will be able to get to play the game on other platforms. It was weird because, like, when they showed the trailer that they were gonna show for what it's going to be, it really felt like it was going to be a Final Fight game because they were showing like Metro City, and it got me excited for a Final Fight game instead. Just a possible update to what a beat 'em up could be in this day and age, instead of kind of like that quarter cruncher design of like games that were in the arcade back when I was growing up, where it was effectively it was pay to win. As long as you had quarters to put in, you could keep punching away. It's something that needs to be revamped, but I wish that this was actually an announcement for that instead. But I do love Street Fighter. Yeah, looking at the character designs and stuff, I'm not sure if this is necessarily the way that I would prefer them to go, but hey, Chun-Li looked awesome, so I was happy for that. There was a lot of PlayStation VR 2 as part of this showcase. For instance, like they showed a kind of like in Japanese they would call it gaiden for Horizon, a side story for it. To me, it was kind of like Pokemon Snap Horizons kind of game. But then there will be more to show on that. But that's just my initial like gut reaction to when they were showing that. There was one trailer, and it was what they ended the showcase with, which was for Final Fantasy 16, and that trailer got me invested because of the world building, like the fantasy aspect of it. That's kind of been missing for a while because I believe the last one that was kind of like an offline type of game was more of like a boy band adventure in the Final Fantasy world. I kind of like this because it kind of goes back to like the roots of what got me into Final Fantasy back with the original one that was released back on the NES. So I have high hopes for it. I don't really know what's going on with the story because it didn't really get too involved with that. At least that's not what I was paying attention to during it. So I don't even know the characters' names. But it actually got me interested in playing Final Fantasy again, and I haven't been like really invested since. And I know it sounds weird to say, but since Final Fantasy VII Remake, which was another game I was hoping to see the continuation of that being released, at least a trailer or something to show what's going on, because these should be the ones that are released before they get to the next Final Fantasy games, and that's my opinion on it, because Final Fantasy Remake or Final Fantasy VII Remake was it was that good that I want to play more of it. I do like that Final Fantasy 16 seems to be leaning that way as far as like the gameplay is concerned. So I'm looking forward to getting into that and playing that. And I think that for JRPGs in general, it's good to have the traditional style of gameplay. Like when I played Persona 5 Royal, that's what I look at as more of a traditional JRPG style. But I love that we now have this other option that's available in JRPGs with more of an action gameplay for the battles, so that you have to be invested, involved, pay attention, you know what's going on, and grinding doesn't necessarily have to be a bore as you're going through it. Another game that was announced that was part of the showcase here, and this is something that's been kind of like a bug to me here about this current generation. We're already a couple years into like the PS5 being out, as well as like the Series X. So it's no longer next generation; it's current generation. But there's still the majority of the games being released are cross generational, and I understand we live in times where the majority of the people still have the older consoles. For some reason, people are still dealing with scalpers. Fortunately, some companies have taken steps to make sure that buyers are able to get the consoles, albeit they want you to buy a bundle in order to get it. But at least there's options that are available, but it's still for the general consumer, they can't walk into a store, find the game console on the shelf, and buy it. So they announced Tunic is coming to the PlayStation 5. If you haven't taken a look at this game, check out my review on Tunic. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised if you haven't had the opportunity to play this game, regardless of what console you're playing it on. It is just check out my review, and you'll see what I'm talking about on that one. But that's pretty much it for Sony's State of Play so far. Like I said, there's supposed to possibly be another one later in the month that will hopefully provide the things that I was looking forward to seeing that wasn't there during this State of Play. So the next one I want to move over to is Nintendo. I don't recall when they're doing their direct. I'll have to look that up. So I apologize if you're looking for information on that. Um, I'll put it in my Facebook group. A number of you that are subscribed here already know about my Facebook group, so I constantly post different things. But with Nintendo's Direct, I wouldn't say it's necessarily predictions. It's what I expect or hope for to be there, and there's quite a bit here. So to start with, I expect them to open with an update for The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2, and I think that we will get its official name. Because right now, we don't have an official name, we just refer to it as Breath of the Wild 2. And to follow that, I think that they're going to announce a Metroid Prime collection that will release in 2022 for the fall. I understand that there are rumors about Metroid Prime, the initial one, being updated and redone. So it's possible it might be part of that collection. If it's not a Metroid Prime collection, what they may announce is that they're doing remakes of 1, 2, and 3 that will be coming soon, and that you would be able to purchase the titles individually. And that's, of course, to whet your appetite for the one that we're waiting for, which would be Metroid Prime 4. And I believe that they'll follow the Metroid Prime collection announcement with Metroid Prime 4's release date and an overview of what the gameplay is like, so we can finally see something. Most definitely, I expect Splatoon 3 to be there. I expect Front Mission 1 and 2 Remake to be there. Advance Wars 1 plus 2 Reboot Camp. Since it didn't get released, I expect them to basically announce like its date and just kind of remind you that it's coming. There will most definitely be Pokemon Scarlet and Violet included in there. I expect them to have Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak included in there as well. Fire Emblem Three Hopes, because Nintendo likes to show the same games over and over. So I expect that to be there. Sea of Stars, I expect to be there, as well as No Man's Sky, being coming, that it's coming over to Switch is kind of a big deal, even though it's an older game. It's just one of those games that I don't think anybody was like expecting to see on the Switch. I also expect there to be Bayonetta 3 with a release date announced. Um, there will be Live Alive or Live Alive. I'm not sure on how they go about that because I don't believe I've heard it said. And of course, Xenoblade Chronicles 3, because that's coming real soon and that will be shown there. I expect there to be another Zelda port to HD announced just to get the community excited because we don't have Breath of the Wild 2 or whatever the name it's going to go with until later next year. So before that one launches, I expect that there would be another port of a Zelda game that will show up. So the last thing we have here is of the big three is Microsoft. They plan a showcase and an extended showcase. So with the showcase, just to get into it, what I expect and predict there to be is for certain Starfield is going to be shown. They're going to show the gameplay even though the game's been delayed. They're going to do an overview and this will keep you excited until the game releases next year. Redfall will also be gone over because all we had was a trailer and then an announcement that it was supposed to come out in 2022. This one has also been delayed, but just to get those two out of the way because we all know that those are going to be there. Avowed, I expect there to be an announcement and gameplay of what to expect on there. Avowed is supposed to be a continuation of Pillars of Eternity, but it's more from what I've seen of it in that trailer. I saw it more of like a Skyrim type of game meets Pillars of Eternity. I expect there to be an overview for updates that are coming to Halo Infinite, among with other games that are currently released, such as Elder Scrolls Online. I'm not sure if Fallout 76 is really that big anymore to where anybody's doing anything with it. Forza Horizon 5 will have some kind of update as well that they're going to mention. These are games that I believe should be mentioned here because it gets more into if you have Game Pass, you have access to these, and these are the updates coming for the game. So get into Game Pass, right? I expect there to be an announcement of a piece of hardware for their Game Pass device, as it were. That'll be plug and play and also be available already installed in some TVs. And I expect there to announce some kind of partnership, say with like Samsung, that would showcase that you can do cloud streaming onto their TVs, and all you would need to have is a controller. And then you can go ahead and get in and get your subscription for Game Pass and have access to a lot of games to play without having to check and see if there's an Xbox Series X or Series S console on the shelf. Or if you don't want to make that investment, but you do want to play the games, you just have to buy a controller and the stick. And I think the stick for pricing on it should be for the sweet spot at $100. There may be another option for 150 if, say, it includes something additional like a controller with it. And when they're talking about Game Pass, they're going to go with a sizzle reel of different games that are coming soon. They're going to be from third party. That'll be included unless it's like a game like Avowed that may possibly come out this year. And also Stalker 2, which may come out this year, but due to what's going on in the world, it may delay their release, which is understandable. I think that we'll get announcements of some Japanese game titles that haven't traditionally been on the Xbox platform being announced. And I am really hoping that they include some JRPGs because that's one thing that is really missing from the portfolio of games available on here. I know that they've made some strides here with including games like from the Yakuza. They've made strides in including that. The other types of games that they could possibly get involved with is because they have a good relationship with Sega, is possibly getting over games, not necessarily Persona, but games from that, for kind of like Shin Megami Tensei and some of the older titles, and see if there's a way to go ahead and get them ported over and get them into Game Pass. Another game that I expect there to be an announcement for is Scorn, which I believe would be in Game Pass as well. So we should be getting a date for that, I believe, coming to the consoles that way. Forza Motorsports being revealed. I expect there to be an announcement for that, for it coming out this year. Forza Motorsports has been the one that I consistently get. It was like my replacement for Gran Turismo. Gran Turismo with 1, 2, and 3. I really loved those games. I loved the different tracks that you go on, how you get the cars and things like that. With Gran Turismo 7, they've seemed to have gone off the rails. I don't know what's going on over at Sony and what they're thinking. And I was hoping that 7 was going to be, a comeback for them. And they screwed it up really badly. So I've steered cleared of that one. And I'm really, Forza Horizon 5 is an amazing game, but it's not the same as having the different tracks to go on that you would have in a Forza Motorsports game, where you learn the tracks, you're going over them over and over. They make different changes to the tracks that you're on. They have them in reverse. They have different weather effects that come up on them. You have different vehicle types that you go on the tracks with. So it's not just repeatedly going on the same thing over and over and having the same experience. And I'm not a gearhead by any means. I couldn't tell you what makes a car, go at all. But this game draws me in. And I really hope that they do a good job with this one and they don't try to make it into something that it hasn't been. I really hope that Microsoft does not screw this up in the way that Sony has managed to screw up Gran Turismo. And so I'm excited about it, but I'm kind of afraid that they're going to mess it up in some way. So the next big one for me is I expect there to be Killer Instinct announced. There could be one of a couple ways that this is announced. One is, of course, announcing a possible studio acquisition that's going to take place, and they're going to be developing Killer Instinct, or they may not acquire the company but outsource the game for them to develop it. And the weird thing in my head is I'm thinking that they're going to get Ed Boon's team over at Neversoft to go ahead and create this one and have them work on it, because internally I don't believe that Microsoft has a team that is well suited to making a fighting game. And depending on how this one goes, this might lead to a possible acquisition of Neversoft. But I definitely suspect that we're going to see something about Killer Instinct and who's working on it. We had Indiana Jones announced, so I expect to see an update on it, and I expect them to confirm that it's going to be an exclusive game for the Xbox Series X and S, as well as being available on PC. So for those that don't have an Xbox console, you'll be able to play it on PC or anywhere that they have Game Pass. Other games that they're probably going to make mention of is going to be like Ghostwire Tokyo and Deathloop. Activision Blizzard games announced that will be coming to Game Pass. That would include games like Call of Duty, Crash Bandicoot, Spyro games, Diablo, StarCraft, possibility of some kind of port to Warcraft, those types of games. And it may be a mix of what's available on console and PC. One of the titles that I expect to come is actually going to be Hexen. And a number of you are probably like, what's Hexen? And I just remember playing the multiplayer for it, and we were constantly just trying to turn each other into chickens and shooting eggs and things like that. It's a weird like magician and witchery type of game, and I expect that there would be like a revival of that game since it's an old title that nobody's doing anything with, and it's owned by Bethesda. So, um, or actually, it was id Software that originally owned it. So, as part of the Bethesda acquisition, became a Microsoft title. I kind of expect CD Projekt Red to be part of the showcase as well, talking about an update to The Witcher coming towards the end of the year, and possible updates for Cyberpunk 2077. But the last game I believe that Microsoft's going to close with is Perfect Dark. And the reason being is it's been in development. There's been talks about people working on the game and then quitting the team. There's also been bringing in Crystal Dynamics to work on it. But because Crystal Dynamics has now been purchased by another company, people are like concerned what's going on with the development of Perfect Dark. I think now would be the perfect time to make people feel a little bit more confident about the game by showing something of the game. So I believe that's what they're going to close with, is showing you that. But these are the thoughts that I've had for all three of the companies. I don't know what to expect from Sony for their showcase for their next state of play that's possibly coming towards the end of the month. But like I said, I'm really hoping that Sony like blows me away with what they have announced, because I have a new PlayStation 5. I'm just looking for some games to play on it that will showcase the power of the system. It's just something that needs to happen. And the same thing with Microsoft. Microsoft needs to be able to do that as well. So a lot of the games that I had mentioned here as part of the Xbox's showcase and the extended showcase should show that it's not about being cross-generational game. It needs to be able to showcase the tool sets that are there to make the current generation really shine. If you have any comments, again, put them in the comment sections below. Let's have a conversation about what you expect to have happen or what you want to see happen. And if you like, what I've had to say, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you don't, give it a thumbs down. Share it with some people, see what they think. And of course, if you're new here, please subscribe. I'm trying to get to 1,000. Anything else that you'd like to see in the videos, again, put that in the comment section and I'll see what I can do for upcoming videos. All right. But until then, I'll see you next time.